to why am I not why am I not on my screen? Welcome back to another episode of Wellness Wednesday on the Lotus Lounge Podcast. I'm your girl, Uma B, and thank you guys so much for being here with me. This is our weekly space to pause, reconnect, and explore new ways to care for our mind, body, and spirit. And tonight, we're diving into one of my favorite topics, the ancient wisdom of Ayurveda, and how it can help us restore balance and health in our modern world. My guest tonight is Jonathan Glass. He is the founder of the Healing Essence Center and author of the Total Life Cleanse. Jonathan is a naturopathic doctor, master acupuncturist, Ayurvedic practitioner, herbalist, energy healer, and natural health educator. He's been helping many people heal and transform for nearly 4 decades, blending ancient traditions with modern insights into health and consciousness. Tonight's topic is the essential principles of health and the 6 stressors to well-being according to ancient wisdom. We'll explore how Ayurveda helps us live in harmony with our unique constitution and the natural rhythms of life, the original causes of dis-ease, and how understanding the 6 stressors to well-being can help us move towards healing and vitality. Jonathan, welcome to my show.
Thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Sorry about my little glitch. I was like, trying to record these podcasts during Mercury retrograde is hilarious. It's like,
yeah, it's hilarious. Exactly.
Something always pops up. So let's start with the heart of Ayurveda, living in harmony with our nature. For those new to this philosophy, how would you explain what it means to live in alignment with our unique constitution and the rhythms of life?
Okay, great question. So first the idea, without getting into too much detail, is that we all have what's called a dosha, or a constitution, which is based up of the combination of who we are based on the combination of 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. So every person is very, very unique in terms of their constitution. So for example, earth may have a lot of physical structure, where air and ether might have more issues around neurological issues, nervous system, things like that. So the first thing in Ayurveda is to identify what is your dosha. And your dosha, literally dosha is a funny word. It actually means fault tendency. So how, based on our elements, based on our constitution, based how we're wired at birth, we all have a tendency to go out of balance in very unique, specific ways. We all also have unique gifts. And oftentimes the gifts are connected to both to our imbalances as well. So the idea in Ayurveda is get to know who you are better, and then there's a very interesting idea of accepting who you are, accepting your nature, accepting your tendencies, even accepting how we go out of balance. Because there's a saying, rather than trying to be someone else perfectly, it's better to be yourself imperfectly. So the idea is get to know yourself, get to know what our positive tendencies are, and also get to accept our negative tendencies. And by accepting them, we can learn to work with them much better. And then we can, as they say in Ayurveda, fulfill our destiny better, fulfill our dharma, our life purpose, more effectively and with less self-judgment and more understanding of what are really our gifts and what are our challenges.
I love that, because as a soul alignment coach, I work every day with people about finding their purpose. And it's interesting how Ayurveda focuses on that as well. Now, you did mention that there are stressors, right, to well-being that prevent you from really following your path. And I'm curious about these. Can you share what they are and how they might show up in our everyday lives?
Sure. So in Ayurveda, this says there's 2 causes of disease. And you can also think of disease as dis-ease. There's different stages of disease to the point where, yes, it gets to the point where it's actually a disease, like a noun. But earlier than that, it's like a verb, like how do we get disturbed physically, mentally, emotionally, even on the spirit level. So the first cause is a very interesting word. It's called pragyapara. It's a Sanskrit word which means when we offend our own knowledge, experience, wisdom, and intuition. So when
Mm,
we lose connection with our own gut knowing, our own common sense about our own well-being, when we, are in denial about what our gifts are, in denial about what our challenges are, then we end up making we can make choices that aren't optimal. And we don't really even, and the idea in Ayurveda too is that we all have an inner guidance system. Different traditions talk about it differently. In Ayurveda, the word is buddhi, or innate intelligence. We all have innate intelligence. And when we interfere with that innate intelligence, or we don't listen to it, and sometimes it just comes forward as good old common sense, we can become derailed in our health. So that's the first original cause. And then the second cause is called ama, which means toxin. So
mm,
toxins are internally or externally derived. So yes, there's over 80,000 chemicals in the environment. Only 20,000 have ever been tested for human safety, and none of them have ever been tested synergistically. So there's that. And then even if we are eating really healthy, if our digestive system is not functioning well, then often what we'll eat turns into some form of toxin, or not fully digested foods can then become a toxin. And those, maybe many people have heard leaky gut, for example.
right.
Undigested proteins can get into the bloodstream. It can wreak all kinds of havoc, especially if it's something that's happening every single day. So there are six basically things that I look at. The first thing are foods, and the foods are in two categories. One is a sensitivity, and one is a food that may not be a sensitivity, but not ideal for a person. For example, the other day, I had a woman who had chronic sinus issues, and she wasn't allergic or sensitive to dairy, but she ate a lot of dairy, and dairy tends to create phlegm in the body. So although I couldn't say to her, hey, you're allergic to dairy or sensitive to dairy, stop eating it, I could say to her, that food is not optimal for you right now because your body is already creating a lot of mucus, and phlegm is contributing to your problem. So it's not that you have to stop it forever, but for a phase until your body clears this up, until you overcome this issue, then I would really severely reduce the dairy. So that's an example of different foods. The biggies are going to be wheat, dairy, sugar, and then of course alcohol. For some people, coffee. For some people, citrus. For some people, soy. But the biggies are going to be wheat, dairy, sugar. Those are big ones for people. And
For sure.
modern wheat is different than the ancient wheat from, the old days, einkorn, even the wheat that an Ayurveda is spoken about, even the dairy that Ayurveda speaks of is a
It's all
different
different.
form of dairy with a cap. Yeah, it's very different. So there's foods, and then we have immune stressors, which are, can be toxins also. That can be underlying bacterial infections. That can be underlying viral issues. Many people, we learned a lot about with COVID, long-term COVID, but it's not just long-term COVID. People get long-term flus all the time. They have long-term mono. They have mono in their 20s and they never feel quite right. Long-term Lyme, long-term viruses. So the immune system can clear something out to a degree, and then there's in Ayurveda, there's six levels of stages of disease and six levels of clearing it. They could get stuck in level 5, and the body's just, it's almost like a broken record. It's just going around and around and around. So it's taking energy from the body, just trying to push it out, but it can't quite do that. And then there's parasites, which are far more common than that we think about. Really, like in the West, we used to think, oh yeah, it's just from what we call third world countries, but it's very, very common. um, yeah, so the immune system, and then we have heavy metals and
Mm,
chemicals: lead, mercury, cadmium, arsenic, very common, GMO, glyphosate, chemicals that are in the food, and the pesticides, food colorings, all kinds of things that are our environment. And the thing is, most of us can manage these things to a certain degree. Then at some point, for, it could be a combination of reasons. The body's just not doing very well clearing them out. They'll start storing them in the tissues, and that will interfere with cellular function and the creation of energy in the body. So that's another big one. And then actually scars. Scars are a big issue. That's something that has been known for many years in both Ayurveda and Chinese medicine, especially horizontal scars. So, for example, a woman who gets a cesarean usually has a horizontal scar that goes through 3, 4 major acupuncture
Right.
meridians that go through the body, and that can interfere with the vital electrical flow of the body. And there's ways to manage that, but it's important to identify them. And then, of course, there's emotional stressors. Every organ holds an emotion. So, without going through all of them, the liver holds anger, the lungs hold grief, the kidneys hold fear, like that. So, sometimes emotional issues or traumas get stored in the fascia, get stored in the organs, and that can then have a negative impact on the organs themselves. So those are the main stressors that we try to look at in people to see what is causing stress on the system. And when we remove some of those stressors, the body's innate intelligence and the body's immune system, which is in Ayurveda called ojas, is able to kick in and work better.
That's amazing. It sounds, I'm also an Ayurvedic practitioner. So I love the fact that you took so
Wonderful.
much time to go into each of the different levels. I'm clearly not as far along. I'm like more of an Ayurvedic consultant. I know about doshas and stuff like that. But so many people
Great.
today struggle with stress, anxiety, fatigue,
Yes.
digestive issues, everything, all those stressors that you
Yeah.
listed. And they don't even realize
Yes.
how connected this is to the energetic principles. So, from your experience, how can we begin as people to restore balance in the nervous system and digestion through Ayurvedic or natural healing principles?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I think is to first open yourself up to new possibilities,
Okay.
and the body's brilliant. Excuse me. The body's brilliant, and to identify whether that's, usually often it's with a practitioner, somebody who has their methodology of identifying, what are those stressors. And if we can identify them, then we can start to minimize and to decrease those stressors. On another level, say if you're not going to practitioner, the biggies, like I said, are going to be modern wheat, dairy, and sugar. So we do cleanses once every couple months out of Healing Essence.
Mhm.
And it's a chance for people to reset. So during the cleanse, we have people eliminate wheat, dairy, sugar, coffee, alcohol, nightshade vegetables, there's a whole list of foods, but it's not a starvation cleanse. It's not a fasting program, but it's really more like a reset. And usually a couple days, people struggle a little bit because so many people have, sugar, so, kind of addictions or wheat addictions, dairy, even addictions. I use addiction lightly, but in some cases it's a real thing.
Yeah.
And by removing those stressors, automatically people just start feeling better in 3 or 4 days, and it gives the system a chance to reset. And then when they bring some of those foods back, they can really tell how they affect them. So it's a really nice opportunity to reset the system. People will feel generally calmer, their digestion will improve, some of their aches and pains decrease, even migraines will decrease, hormonal, issues can tend to normalize. The whole principle, and this is something that I think the more and more people come to understand this, is that the body's already intelligent. A lot of the issues are the things that are interfering with the body's innate intelligence. It's not just giving a disease a name. That disease took a while to manifest. So by removing those obstacles, oftentimes we can rewind, some of those causes and then get back to a place where the body's functioning better. And therefore, when the body's functioning better, the mind is going to function better, the nervous system is going to function better. And then on top of that, I really recommend people do some kind of exercise 3 or 4 times a week and some kind of breathing meditation practice every single day. And it doesn't have to be a big long thing. You don't have to be a great yogi. Just practicing some good breathing, some stretching, even 10 minutes or 5 minutes a day. It can be pretty amazing how it can just shift the nervous system from what we call, sympathetic dominant, which is go mode, just to slow everything down for a few minutes. And then when we do that, it stimulates the body's innate intelligence. So when we combine diet, lifestyle, breathing like that, it can really make a big difference.
I'm so curious because I want to ask you about what daily practices, you would recommend to people. But now, I'm a woman in my 40s and I am in that perimenopause, approaching menopause, right, area in life. And I'm noticing changes. Like there's some nights I would just have this all over rash on my body. It just mysteriously appears and then mysteriously disappears, and then the hot flashes and things like that. And I'm wondering, what does Ayurveda say, right, about the process of menopause for women? What takeaway advice can women listening to this podcast go away with from Ayurveda principles?
Yeah. So, the hormonal change is it's a big shift. It's a big transition. And in Ayurveda, transitional phases are known as called vata. There's a lot of movement. The body's not in a stable place. So it's a really good time to increase eating really clean and
Yeah.
supporting the liver, especially because the liver has to process and all of those hormonal changes. Sometimes the body's dumping a tremendous amount of estrogen. The body is creating estrogen because it's going down. The body will store uh, toxins in different tissues, which interfere with healthy hormone metabolism. So it's a really good time to clean up the diet. It's a really
Yeah.
good time to do that. And again, taking the burden off the body. There's some really good transitional herbs, both in Chinese medicine and Ayurveda, that can help with that transition with those hot flashes. But I would say emphasizing really supporting the liver and also the adrenal glands, from a naturopathic. The adrenal glands are part of the Chinese medicine Ayurveda, part of it's called the water element or the kidneys, but they're really the adaptogen glands. They help the body adapt to stress, but they also do create some hormones. And if the adrenals, and usually when we're in our 40s, it's like that's often when the adrenals start um, having to work extra hard, but they're also a little tired. So that would be a time to add some good adrenal herbs, clean up the diet, clean up the liver, and that combination oftentimes can significantly limit or minimize the difficulties of menopause.
I love that. You've guided thousands through your total life cleanse and energy healing programs. Through all these years of working with people in energy, what truth about health and vitality has stayed with you the most? The one you would want everyone to remember?
It's a great question. Well, two things that come to mind is one is that people are far more resilient
Mm,
than I actually thought they were in the beginning. We'd have people join our cleanse programs and they were a wreck. They ate horribly. And what I noticed is if people stay with something, 4 or 5 days, then they're, excuse me, they're often over the hump.
right.
So, so, it can be a little tough in the first day or two, okay, 3 days. But if you stay with it, then it's not just a linear shift, it's often a quantum shift in how people feel. So by doing that, I've seen again and again that innate intelligence kicks in. So again, the thing that I've taken away, remove the stressors, increase some good activities that are beneficial, and then always people start feeling better. And then from that point, yeah, we can do sometimes we do hair analysis if necessary, stool analysis if necessary. We can, if someone's exposed to a lot of toxins, there are tests that we can do that are really good for one, seeing what toxins are there and what pathways are having an issue. Then we can fine tune things a little bit. But I've had people come in and they're on hundreds of supplements, they're taking a ton of things, and they feel like crap. When they do some of the things I'm talking about, we get them down to 3 or 4 supplements rather than on 15 or 20. Literally, I have people bring in boxes of things that they're taking.
Oh, wow.
And, if we don't do the lifestyle thing, then yeah, you have to be dependent on the herbs and the supplement. But if you add the lifestyle thing, the body will just start working better, and everything else that you do will improve it. Things like acupuncture, things like chiropractic, things like massage therapy are all very, very beneficial.
That's amazing. I feel like this has been such an enlightening conversation. And I love how you kind of bring Ayurveda to life. It's not just a philosophy, right? It's a way of life that reconnects us to our own body's natural intelligence. Before
Right.
we close, can you share how listeners can connect with you, learn more about your work, and then what can they do? Can they come see you for a session?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So people can come see me if they're locally. I work with a lot of people virtually also. That works beautifully. And so if you go to my website, healingessencecenter.com, healingessencecenter.com, you can go there. I have a free ebook that actually goes into these 6 stressors that we talked about, some of the food stressors and all the different stressors. And you'll see that in the upper right side of the website. It says free ebook. You can get that. And you can certainly contact me, and we can find a time for a session.
I love that so much. Um, I want to thank you again, Jonathan, for joining us tonight and sharing such timeless wisdom about the body, the mind, and the spirit. It's been truly an honor to talk with you. I feel like you have so much information. We're probably going to have Jonathan back on this show again in the
Great.
future.
Love to.
What I'm taking away from this conversation, guys, is that health isn't something we chase, it's something we remember. When we align with nature, simplify our habits, listen deeply to ourselves, balance will naturally return. Like Jonathan said, our bodies are resilient. To all our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to this podcast, Wellness Wednesday, on the Lotus Lounge Podcast. If tonight's episode inspired you, please share it with a friend, leave a comment, drop a like, or let us know your favorite takeaway in the chat. You can watch all the replays and past episodes on my YouTube channel and on the Lotus Lounge Podcast, found on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and Buzzsprout. Until next time, may peace, love, and light guide your path, and may you honor your body as your greatest teacher. Thanks, guys. I'll see you soon.